What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotti Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 121, 121, my folks. And, well, this is it. This is my long-awaited, highly anticipated, and probably much debated Lakers All-Star Break Report. And this episode is going to be a classic. I guarantee you, we've got so much to cover. I mean, we're going to talk about the Lakers roster construction. We're going to talk about the marvelous season exploits of LeBron James, the King. We're going to look around the NBA. We're going to look at the standings and make projections. We're going to talk about several things of relevance, but we have to start. We must begin with the earthquake. Whoo, the shaker. That seismic event. It was a Saturday night in Los Angeles around 9 p.m. or so. And, well, I was out as it so happened that particular evening. And I took a look at my phone. A notice popped up on my feed, and it said, Luka Doncic traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis. I stopped right there. I couldn't even read the rest of it. I was like, what? Damn! I yelled out, and the people all around me were like, what's going on? I had to explain to him. I just saw this blockbuster trade information. The Lakers just traded AD, Rubber Band Man Robin, for Luka the Don, and they didn't believe me. They were like, yeah, right. I was like, look it up yourself, and they all went to their phones, and sure enough, it started hitting, and people were like amazed, and many were jubilant, and I mean, my first reaction was, how did the Lakers pull this off? Pelinka! How did he do it? And, well, you know, we're going to have to go into it. I've got some ideas. I have some suspicions of what might have really went on, but you saw once the trade was announced, well, in Dallas, there was bedlam. Pandemonium. The people were incensed, irate. They had pitchforks and lanterns, and they were chanting, "We want Nico." They wanted to do bodily harm to the man. I mean, all seriousness, I have to say this. There's a land of lunatics roaming around loose out there. These people that they want to commit violence against people because of a sports team. These people, they become so unhinged over, well, they lost their favorite player. I heard one of the talking heads, one of the so-called experts, he said, well, Luka was, for many of these people, he was their favorite player, and they are suffering an immeasurable loss. They are grieving in Dallas. I'm like, wow, really? Grieving? Well, yeah, I guess so, because when your heart is tied up into your sports team, I get it. Look at it. I come to the outskirts of the city just to broadcast about my teams. I do understand the passion and the verve, but I have to say, if you can't draw the line when it comes to wanting to commit violent acts against somebody, then you, sir, are a lunatic, or madam. Get a hold of yourselves out there. Meanwhile, welcome to L.A., Luka. Yeah, Luka. He got off the private jet, and he flashed the LA sign, you know, but you could see in his face that he wasn't he wasn't thrilled. I mean, you could see, and then in the welcome interviews, you could see that he was still dispirited. I get it, because he was the emperor of his own kingdom down there in Dallas. And someone decided to show him who's the boss, and not to mention, the man lost $160 million or so in the transaction, so I get why you might be a little glum. Really. And it happened in the middle of the night. It was kind of sketchy the way it went down, and apparently it had to have complete and utter silence around the negotiations. It was completely kept quiet in the dark between Pelinka and Nico. Only the two of them had this discussion about swapping AD, street clothes, the rubber band man Robin, swapping him for Luka the Don. And so we gotta look at it, my folks. Let's just start right there. Well, here's the first thing now. I think that AD got a little too comfortable. I think he became a little complacent. I mean, just for example, do you remember last year when LeBron broke Kareem's record, and was a big event, and they stopped the game, and Kareem came out and passed the ball to LeBron, and well, remember the shot that Bron hit to break Cap's record? Do you remember the footage on the Lakers bench? Everybody on the bench, everybody is up and watching and cheering as LeBron takes his place in history. Everybody on the bench, everybody in the stands, everybody on the team except AD. He sat glumly, looked detached. He sort of looked away from the action, and when it happened and everyone erupted, he didn't cheer, he didn't clap, he just sat there. And it was all caught on tape, And of course, the media, afterwards, they asked him about it. How come you were the only one who seemed to not take any enjoyment and relish in LeBron's magnificent accomplishment? And he had to try to, explain it away. And he said, well, I was just, it was just that we were losing at the time, and that's what it was. And I was just so upset that we were losing in that moment when Bron was breaking the record. I just couldn't bear to cheer, applaud, stand up, look. I said, well, I hear you, but that, it sort of doesn't make sense. I mean, you're supposed to be Robin, rubber band man, though you may be. You supposed to be Bron's homie, his buddy, his friend. He brought you, he told the Lakers, clean out the cupboards, trade the whole house. I got to have AD, and he brought you. And so you're with Clutch, which gets to another point we'll address a little bit later. Did LeBron know any of this was coming? We'll get to that. But LeBron is making history, and AD looks like his pet just passed away. And then, what about this year? Remember, not very long ago, LeBron passed Michael Jordan for most career 30-point games. And, well, in the post-game, in the locker room, they asked AD how he felt about that. LeBron finally passing Mike. He said, well, as a Chicago guy, I really didn't like it. Huh? He said, and look, it took him several more seasons to do it, and many more games to do it, so he finally got it done, and he kind of chuckled it off. And I said, look, there it is again. It's like he had a little bit of haterade AD. But it's hard to explain. Why would that be? And as AD is saying this stuff, LeBron off camera says, it's always your friends. Those are the ones. And AD, he did the same sheepish chuckle again. And Bron said it again. The ones that's closest to you, those are the ones you gotta watch. He said it, it's on. You can find it, I'm sure, on the interwebs. I was like, what gives with AD? And then, again, he voiced his very staunchly held opinion that he did not want to be a center. He was not a 5. He wanted to run as a 4. And so that meant it was incumbent upon the Lakers organization to get him a center to play with. Well, they did. It just turns out that center he's playing with is in Dallas. But I think AD got too comfortable, too complacent. I guess he didn't think it could happen to him. And so that was an earth-shaking event. And then you look at it a little more deeply, and you can't help but ask yourself, why would Dallas do such a thing? We know AD is 6 years older than Luka. We know AD is a walking injury threat. And I'll give him credit. He seemed to have toughened up a little bit over the last season or so. But as you saw, I'm here hollering. I'm here. I'm out. Out 6 weeks or so, and we'll be reevaluated. Played a few minutes game one. And he was having a monster game, his game 1 as a Maverick. He was having a monster game. Rattling the rim, blocking shots, looking athletic, emoting. He was fired up. And then non-contact injuries, like he was shot from the stands by a fairy dart. Down he went. Why would Dallas do such a thing? Now, you've got to take into account that Luka the Don is on an historic trajectory as a baller. And I'll be honest with you, I've watched Luka's game from afar, and I'll admit, he wore on me a little bit, his whole deal. You know what I mean? His deal. For one thing, he cries like a baby, There was a recent incident of this very thing as a new Laker. This happened in the last game before the All-Star break. Luka, he felt he was fouled. There was a no call. The ball is going the other way. And Luka, instead of tracking the ball, running back down court, playing defense, Luka saunters over to the ref to debate. While the ball is live, it's a fast break the other way. See, and I was like, that's what they're talking about in Dallas. That is what they're talking about. Luka, notoriously weak on defense, a liability on D. And he complains and whines, he bitches and moans, every call or non-call, anything that doesn't go his way. And for me, watching from afar, not being a Dallas Mavericks fan, it was a little irritating. His shtick, you know. And, well, why would Dallas do such a thing? Well, here's another thing. The man likes to live life to the fullest. Let's put it that way, okay? He's listed at 235, his weight, but reports are he's typically about 275, well over. You can see in his face he's puffy. Now, he's only 25. Now, he's a big guy, and you can't reach the level that he has reached and be a slovenly type, but he apparently has a fondness for sensory tastes. He has an appetite for the hookah. He likes to puff and smoke. Now, hey, I'm not judging whether you want to indulge in delights of the flesh. You like to eat and drink the vino and puff on the hookah. I won't judge you. But here's the thing, though. That's a tough one for a basketball player in the NBA. Cardio is a big thing, you know. A lot of running. Well, see, that's another thing about Luka the Don. Luka plays a slow game, doesn't he? Well, I guess that helps when you're smoking hookah after the games and swilling beers like they're going out of style. He plays a slow game, and that never much appealed to me either. I like an up-tempo game. I like, magic to Worthy, and I like the fast break, showtime, and all of that, and run and gun. I like it. But, hey, when my team would go into an era where maybe it was Big Shaq Fu and Shaq Fu would run now, but I mean, there were times when that was a slower type game, and so I'm willing to adapt to whatever the personnel allows the team to play. My only request is that you win with whatever it is you're doing. Whatever you're running, win with it. But Luka plays a slow game. It's a plodding game. It's a we'll be kind and call it deliberate. He's a deliberate type player. But all of this, my folks, I say, with the caveat being, I would trade Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic every day of the year, including the leap day. Every day. If the trade came up every day, I would make it every day. I'm sure when Pelinka first heard about this, he was like, what? In fact, let's do a little role play, a little Scotti's masterpiece theater, shall we? How about how did Dallas decide to make such a seismic move with their young superstar? And so, my folks, welcome to tonight's edition of Scotti's Masterpiece Theater. And in tonight's episode, Scotti himself will be portraying both characters. The Dallas Mavericks Board of Governors President Patrick Dumont and Nico Harrison, the embattled Dallas GM. Nico, come sit down. I don't know if he has a southern accent, but for all intents and purposes, let's just go with that he does. Nico, come sit down. Sure, boss. You wanted to talk to me about something. Nico, I do. I got an idea I've been baking in. I think we want to trade Luka. Are you joking, boss? Nico, you know I don't joke. I don't have a sense of humor. We want to trade Luka. But boss, Need I remind you, sir, he is a 25-year-old megastar. He's beloved by the fans. He's on track for a legendary Hall of Fame career. Why would you want to trade such a player? I don't like him. You don't like him? I don't like him, Nico. I don't like that he swills beer. Beer? I don't like that he smokes that hookah. Hookah? I don't like how he saunters around like he owns the place. Well, he sort of does, boss. I don't like how... Look how he eats. Look how he's never in shape in camp. I don't like how the ball is just sitting in his hands, and then when he's not available, the team doesn't know how to operate. I don't like it. I don't like his conditioning and his effort. And you know what else I don't like, Nico? No, boss, what? I don't like that I've got to pay him $360 million. I don't like it. Not for a hookah-smoking, beer-swilling, slovenly, slow ball hogging Yugoslavian. He's from Slovenia, sir. Yeah, I don't give a damn. I don't like him. Boss, if we open up the trade market for Luka, the whole industry will go berserk. I know that, Nico, and that's why I don't want it to be discussed between anybody. Only the parties involved. What parties, sir? Well, I've been thinking, Nico. You know, I think we need a big man who plays defense. Luka doesn't play any damn defense. They call him Luka Doncic because there's no D in his name. Yeah, I've heard that somewhere, boss. Yes, but there's another player. There's a big D in his name. A A and a D. A A and a D. Yes, you trade Luka for Anthony Davis, and that's the deal. Anthony Davis? Yes, he's athletic, he plays defense, and I like him. He looks energetic. Boss, Anthony Davis is 31 and injury I didn't ask you for his vitals, Nico. That's who I want. See if you can't make that happen, but whatever you do, don't let it get out, not a peep, not a word, to the media. And then Nico said, finally, before he left Patrick Dumont's office, boss, if I do this, if I trade Luka, I'm gonna need security. I'm gonna need not just financial, but physical security. Nico, you take care of this. You get me that Anthony Davis, and you'll never have to worry about a thing the rest of your life. Now get out of here. You got work to do. And scene. See, it could have been a little bit of a personal thing. Maybe when Patrick DeMont, he just acquired the team or just acquired a position of power, I know Mark Cuban was not pleased. But when Patrick DeMont, maybe when he first met Luka, he might have walked up to him and said, "I'm Patrick DeMont, pleasure to meet you, Luka." And he said, "I don't know who you are, but you're standing in the way of the beer." Patrick DeMont said, "What? I'm Patrick DeMont." He said, "Yes, but you're in the way of the beer, you see. Move." And it planted a seed in his head. I don't like him. Now, this is all just wild, pure speculation, to be sure, but I'm trying to convey to you what could be at the root of such a dramatic move that Dallas made. And so, very quickly, I'd like to give you one final installment of Scotti's Masterpiece Theater. And in this scene, both characters will be played by Scotti himself, the character of Nico Harrison and the character of Rob Pelinka. Rob, we've been friends a long time now. I sure have. And, I've got something heavy on my heart and on my mind, and I've gotta ask you to promise me you'll keep it completely confidential, just between us. It's a big deal. Can I count on you, Rob? Of course. What's up, Nico? Well, how would you like to trade Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic? Well, I certainly would have to run it past Jeannie and Clutch and LeBron, but I'm intrigued. And so here it is, my folks. We've all seen the post-game video. Luka celebrating with the beer, and Michael Finley smooth comes up and swipes it right out of his hand, and Luka looks at him like, "I think you just took my beer." I mean, there was something there. And I think all of those things can be overlooked, the style of play or the conditioning or even if there's a bit of some ruffled feathers, the personal things, all of the things can be overlooked in a vacuum, the money, all of it. But when you put it all together, and it appears that Patrick DeMont was forced to reveal his hand because the media and the fans, the lunatics, the deranged ones out there, they all ran with this idea, this foolish notion that Nico Harrison himself came up with the idea to trade Luka. Now, do you really believe that's what happened? That Nico Harrison, 3-4 years in the organization, comes in, new ownership, comes in and says, "You know what? I have a great idea, everyone. Welcome as new owners. My idea is let's trade Luka." They'd grab him by his collar and throw him out of there. No, Nico Harrison was the human shield. He was the human shield. He took the heat for the DeMont decision. And you saw with the death threats. Nico couldn't go to the game. They were looking for him out in the real world. They were looking for him. People wanted to harm him. These people are insane. And so I'm sure Nico went back to Patrick Dumont and he said, they're trying to kill me out here. You got to do so. You said you'd protect me. You said I wouldn't have to worry. Look, they're trying to harm me. And Patrick Dumont finally had to come out. And that's when he issued that statement or made that statement where he went into it about how defense wins championships. And you've got to be, he said, Magic and Kobe and Bird and Shaq. He even threw Shaq in there, actually ill-informed to throw Shaq in that group. But he talked about their commitment to fitness and working on their game and commitment to excellence. And he said, if you're not willing to be that, we don't want you in Dallas. Get the hell out of here, Luka. That's what he was essentially saying. Good riddance. Patrick Dumont came out and said, you all might as well leave Nico alone. I did that. And I'm glad I did it. And he's gone now. So, what you want? And they said, well, we want your head too, Dumont. Nico, get back out here and handle this. And then, to make it all so much worse, Anthony Davis, the rubber band man Robin, street clothes. He puts on his uniform for his Dallas Mavericks debut, and he's yelling and screaming, I'm here! And down he goes. Out for weeks, could be months, who knows with this dude. And so, it was seismic at its core, my folks, as you know. It stole, it hijacked all the air out of Super Bowl week, the NBA and the trades and Luka for AD. And then, of course, there were subsequent trades that came. And we'll talk a little bit more about those things as well. But this is what I want to say at this point in time. We got to see, just before the All-Star break, we got to see Luka and LeBron play together. And let me say right here and now that I heard a lot of silly talk, foolish talk. I heard the words of idiots. Charles Barkley, for example, they said it, that Luka, the Don, and LeBron James, the King, couldn't play together. And you're a so-called expert. See, and that just goes to show you, just because you could bounce the ball or jump high, that doesn't mean you're not simple. But he actually said that, Barkles. And I'm like, Barkles is an idiot. But he's got a microphone. So do I. I'm just on the outskirts of the city, But it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I heard a few other people parrot it. The truth of the matter is, these two guys will play together splendidly. In fact, do you remember when the trade first went down in the media? Because they run with narratives and they said, oh, well, is LeBron going to quit? Is this it? Will he walk away now? Will he retire? Is he going to ask for a trade? Will he waive his no trade clause? Is this the end? It's Luka's team now. That's how they run and jump to conclusions. And I'm like, are you kidding? Right now? LeBron is thinking, you just added a couple more years to my career. Thank you very much, Mr. Palenka. Thank you very much, Rich Paul. Now, let's address this question. Did LeBron know it was coming down? The whole thing? The trade? Did he know? Well, in the intelligence world, in politics and so forth, there's a phrase, plausible deniability. And so I expect Bron had plausible deniability. It's one of those things where you say, hey, if I can dramatically improve the composition of my squad, I want that to be a priority at any cost, but you don't have to necessarily keep me in the loop about it. But when you give me a heads up, if I frown my face, maybe you'll squash it. And if you give me a heads up and I say, I haven't said a word, but that sounds good to me. And I'm sure when Rich Paul said to him, if he said to him, Bron, we got a situation cooking. We can swap out your boy AD. Yes, Bron, for Luka the Don. Oh, get the hell out of here. What? Are you kidding? No, it's hush hush. Can't say a word. All I can tell you is it's about to go down. And Bron said, oh my. Thank you very kindly. And Bron went out to New York against the Tricks, and Bron put on a show at Madison Square Garden. In the back of his mind, he knew we're about to turn the page on Street Clothes, and we're about to bring in a legend. You pair up Bron with Luka, and I'll say this. Luka's first 2 games before the All-Star break, they weren't appealing games to watch. You got all of the drag of Luka without much of the sizzle and pop. He tried a couple of those Harlem Globetrotter passes. He's got some Globetrotter in him. Circus passes. And one thing I noticed about it was if Luka's 3 ain't going, if that's not dropping, he almost becomes an on-court liability because he keeps throwing up those threes and they're not dropping, and granted, he had not played in some time, cardio, all that hookah and everything. And so I, grant you, probably not gonna be at your best. And I'm sure there were nerves. Now he's no longer in his own personal kingdom. Now he has been uprooted, and he's now in Bron's kingdom. And the roaches, that's what I call them. They can't wait to. It's Luka's team now. That's it. Get out of here, Bron. We've got what we've been waiting for. See, and what I'm talking about, my folks, this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but what I'm talking about is when LeBron was announced to be coming to the Lakers, I was ebullient. Oh, I was ecstatic. And he was welcome to town. They spray painted the N-word on his estate, on the gates of his property. You remember that? Welcome to LA, Bron. Klan out here too. Shit. But the roaches, you think they'll deface Luka's property? This is what they've been waiting for. See, I've gone to games where you've got LeBron on the court. LeBron James, now the all-time leading scorer in basketball history. Really, it's just down to either LeBron or Michael Jordan is the greatest overall basketball player in NBA history. You have a player of that caliber, of that magnitude on your team. And the building has erupted with MVP chants. MVP, MVP, MVP. And the thing was, my folks, it wasn't for Bron. The fans, 18,000 plus of them at then Staples Center, chanting MVP for Alex Caruso? Yeah. Multiple times. And the first time that I saw them do that and the camera cut to Bron's face, he had this, it was a curious look on his face, a mixture of confusion and disdain. But this is what it is, you see? And later, when they jettisoned Caruso, who's a bench player, MVP, they started it again. This time, it was for Austin Reeves. Not Anthony Davis, not LeBron James. This is the mindset of the Roach. You understand? They're constantly searching for the next great white hype. The ferret has a sidekick. I call him the meerkat. And the meerkat, he's not a Caucasian, but you probably couldn't convince him of that. But the meerkat blurted out on the air. I had to play it back to make sure I heard what he said. Just overjoyed, he blurted out, "Now the Lakers have 3 white players on the team at the same time." He was so happy to see that, and he named them Luka and Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect. Oh, it's just amazing. Why would that be something you'd think of? Why would that? But he's not the only one now. That's why you hear MVP chants for Caruso. That's why you hear them for Reeves, but not for LeBron. Sad commentary. And so my point is simply this. The Roaches, they are beside themselves. And so they will absolve Luka of all blame. And so once again, I'm going to have to be the one on the outskirts of the city giving you the real. Because I'm going to give you the real. I'm not going to give it to you through these pasty colored glasses. And when Luka is great, I'll let you know. And when he's not, I'll be happy to tell you he stunk up the joint, which he did. I think he had his plus minus was, I believe, a minus 19 or something like that. His worst plus minus of the season. He hadn't played that many games, true enough. But he wasn't good. And even in his first game, his Lakers debut, I believe he was 1 of 7 from the 3-point line. So, I mean, just clanking all those threes. But it is my hope and expectation, really, that Luka will start to feel more at home. Now, coming out of the All-Star break, LeBron is questionable. As you saw, he did not play in the All-Star game, and that was another little bit of controversy. It seems like a lot of controversy around LeBron. And even Big Buck Huck was on the air, and he was blasting Bron, and he usually worships at the altar of the king, but he blasted Bron. He said he took a spot away from a deserving baller like Norman Powell, for example, which that part I agree with. But what I suspect is not that LeBron was being selfish and he just refused to give a spot to a worthy colleague. I think more likely LeBron didn't want to disappoint the fans. He wanted to play. He's been a 21-year All-Star. He wanted to keep his streak going, but Again, as I say, his response lets me know maybe the most important thing is he believes, LeBron believes, that he can get another couple of chips now. See, LeBron was just sort of stagnating along with AD, but now with Luka the Don, I believe that LeBron believes he can get to 6 now. See, that's that elusive number, right? Mike had 6. They keep throwing that in Bron's face, and Bron wants 6. Now, even if he got 6, they're going to say, yes, but you lost. But I believe Bron now sees the potentiality of playing multiple seasons beyond this one. And I'd be happy to see that. And LeBron is not ego-driven as far as it's my team and I got to hold a ball and this and that. LeBron was pleading with Anthony Davis to take over. Take charge, man. Make it your team. Get your number. Retire, hanging from the rafters. Do it. I'm encouraging you. And AD was lackadaisical with it. There were times, his last game as a Laker, that was a hell of a game. What was it, 43-22 or whatever? You give me a 40-20 game, I got nothing but love for you, bro. But then, there were times he'd struggle. He'd give you 10-9, you know. And so, the injury risk was pervasive and always prevalent, hanging over his head like a sword of Damocles. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how these final 30 games after the All-Star break play out. But I am expecting the Lakers to absolutely hold their position and make a playoff run. LeBron this season, so far, averaging 24.3 points a game. 40 years old, 22nd season, may I remind you. 24 points, 7.7 rebounds, nearly 8 boards, and 9 assists. 24, 8, and 9. For the Lakers this season, that will get it done any day of the week. Now, we know LeBron is royalty. All he needed was a trusty sidekick. And, well, let's look at the main participants in the trade. AD3, the rubber band man, Robin, street clothes. Let's look at him. Well, Anthony Davis. Okay, for his career, Anthony Davis has averaged 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, 10.7 to be precise, 2.5 assists. So 24, 11, and 2, let's call it. That's decent work now over his career. But as I mentioned, he has been injury prone. You know this, and he's missed a considerable amount of games. Let's look at Luka. Luka the Don, Luka Magic. Well, Luka, listen, I told you, sometimes his game looks slow. I called him Jupiter at one point because he's got a heavy gravity, a dense gravity, and you could see there's like a little storm or something brewing under the surface there. Enormous gravity Luka Doncic has. And I've mentioned some of his quirks and, some of the irritable qualities to his game. But the numbers, when you look at the numbers, they are eye-popping. In fact, listen, there have only been 2 players, that have ever averaged 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists for a season, for an entire season. Only 2 men in the NBA have ever done it. And we can go down the list of legends, all the names, Wilt and Kareem. No. only Michael Jordan, he's one, the only other person to accomplish that feat. Luka the Don. 32, 8, and 8 for a season. Luka the Don. And Michael Jordan. You know, there have only been two players that have ever averaged 30 points for the playoffs, postseason. Michael Jordan and Luka the Don. It's remarkable. And so for his career, Luka averages 28.6 points a game. It's about 29 when you round it. 8.6 rebounds, that's 9 when you round it. 8.2 assists. 29, 9, and 8. 29, 9, and 8 for a career. That's staggering. And so, that's why people say, hey, if you can do that, smoking hookah and drinking beer, then, order up another round. But the other side of that argument goes, if you got yourself together and really focused and really looked after your physicality, these nagging injuries wouldn't plague you, and you could elevate your game to another stratosphere left yet to be unlocked. And that's what I'm hoping we'll see. And now, under the wing of LeBron, under his tutelage, and Luka has said he idolized LeBron growing up. He admires him. He reveres Bron. Now, under his wing, under his tutelage in terms of taking care of yourself and your body, tricks of the trade, longevity, they've created a monster in LA. And that's why people were gobsmacked. How do the Lakers keep pulling this off? So, I know that Bron spoke very highly of AD and considered him a close friend, but I think when Bron found out it was official that AD was traded for Luka, Bron probably was like, oh, well, somebody holla hallelujah. Respectfully, of course. So sad to see you go, AD. Take care of yourself. Luka's a Don. Come on in, bro. Bron knows what this means for his career. Bron's not going anywhere now. And there's no reason for him to. You saw the numbers I gave you that he's putting up. And you combine that with Luka. Now, they do have to fit their games together, and they'll work that out. They got 30 games. 30 games coming out of this All-Star break, and that'll give them time. And I like Bron's attitude. He said, no, I don't want to press my ankle when I know what we've got to do in these final 30 games after the break. I like how that sounds. So I'm expecting good things. I mean, it was a little rough the first 2 games of Luka's debut as a Laker, but I'm hoping it will smooth out. It's going to be beautiful. And the people who said did you see, there's a meme of it, the idiot, Barkles. The Lakers are not contenders. The Lakers are not contenders. He kept saying it over and over and over, and they made a meme of it like he was Dorothy skipping down the road. The Lakers are not contenders. I'm like, Barkley, you fool. The Lakers are big-time contenders. Now, what has happened to the Lakers each year? They ran into the Joker. And so let's go ahead and segue into around the NBA. Let's take a look at it. But when you can acquire a player of the ilk, of the caliber of Luka the legend, Luka the Don, in the prime of his career at 25, if you can pull that trade off for Anthony Davis, and a draft pick? Oh, Rob Pelinka. Nice going, but it really wasn't even Rob Pelinka's doing. Any GM in the league would have taken that deal if they had the trade asset that Dallas wanted. It was Fade, the basketball god, smiling on the purple and gold yet again. Yet again. And so, let's take a quick look around the league now. Let's, for the sake of time, let's really only deal with the above 500 teams. And so let's start in the East. Let's go with the top 6 teams in the East at the All-Star break, because 7 down, they are all below 500. The top 6 teams in the East at the All-Star break. Well, at number 1 is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they've been out front all season long. They're 44-10. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they are a healthy 5.5 games ahead of the second place Celtics. And much like the Baltimore Ravens player who put out the call for somebody stop KC, I feel that way about the Celtics. Anybody, stop Boston. You cannot allow them to keep getting away with this. They shoot too many damn threes. And look, they got a championship. They're defending champs. They're second in the East right now. But anybody in the East, put a stop to them. Cleveland, put a stop to them. I hate to say it. I can't believe I'm saying it, but the New York Tricks, affectionately, the Tricks, put a stop to them. And the Tricks are good this year. I'm going to give them credit. I mean, most of the year, they were a better team than the Lakers were, but now there's been this change. And then I think Bron might have had a little birdie in his ear, told him, you go out to the Garden and ball out. We got a good little treat coming up for you. And Bron went out there, and the Lakers looked fabulous at the Garden against the Tricks. And so I think the Tricks might be wearing down. And see, that's the thing with Tibbs. He burns that candle on both ends. He runs his players so many minutes. And so, yeah, they ball out early, but that takes a toll on you over the course of 82 games. And so you seeing the productivity taper off with the Tricks. And so, but still, they're third in the East, and 8-2 in their last 10. And so I'm calling on New York. I'm calling on Cleveland. Stop them. And if they can't, when you get to the finals out of the West, you cannot, if it is Boston, you cannot let them repeat. No way, no how. So let's look at the number 4 seed as it stands right now. It's the Pacers. See, that's the one team that I wonder about. I wonder if they're going to be able to hold that lofty a position in the standings. And then there's Milwaukee, Giannis, and number 6, the final team that is currently at the break above 500 in the East, Detroit Pistons. How about that? And, I'm impressed with the Pistons. I like what they got going over there. I like Duran, and I like, Cade Cunningham's balling out of his mind. And so Detroit sitting in the 6th slot above the 500 line. And so at this point, I like all of those teams to have a fighting chance, get hot, and do some damage against Boston, because, if those threes aren't falling in, they're not the type of team that I think will strike fear in the heart of anybody. They just shoot all those threes. And I don't care for them. Anyway, Now, I want to say a word about Milwaukee. The Bucks started off rough, slow, rocky, and Doc, came under a lot of fire, didn't he? But Giannis is a generational talent, and you pair him with Dame, that could have been the most prolific offensive duo in the NBA, but not anymore. Not with Bron and Luka paired up. Not with Bron and Luka teamed up. No, sir. And so let's look quickly at the Western Conference in the NBA. Well, all season long, it's been the Thunder. The Thunder, 44-10. Same record as Cleveland. Both of the top seeds in each conference sitting at 44-10. The Thunder, likewise, have won 8 of their last 10, and they have an even healthier lead. The second place team in the West is 8 games back of the Thunder. And that's the Grizzlies, and that surprises me, actually. I'm pretty stunned by that the Memphis Grizzlies are the 2 seed in the West at 36-18. But they've won 7 of their last 3, and you got to give credit. Well, credit goes to the ballers. They've got ballers. Triple J is a monster. And Bane balls out, and Ja, he comes and he goes. He provides a spark, and then he's kind of out. But all together, though, hey, they've managed to put a very impressive first half, a little more than half actually, together in the NBA, and they sit in the 2 seed. The 3 seed, well, it's Denver. There it is. That has been the Lakers' bugaboo. That is Denver and the Joker. That they've eliminated the Lakers 2 years in a row, as you know. And so there they are, sitting at the 3 seed. They are 36-19. They're just a half game out of the 2nd seed. And Denver is 8-2 in their last 10. And I just have to say about the Joker ain't no joke. Okay, and in the beginning, I didn't follow Denver and the Joker closely enough to really, I heard people rave about him, the experts, and they a lot of times they're lemmings and parrots, and you can't go by everything that you hear that the narrative has cranked out. But in this case, the Joker, he's a genuine article. He's the truth. TROOF. Okay? His game is spectacular to me. Not in an overtly athletic way. Actually, to the contrary. When you watch him, it almost seems like he's kind of loafing or taking it super casual. And yet, the results are spectacular. To have won as many MVPs as he has, 3 now. And when I look at the data, the stats from the first half of the season, you could make a strong case that the Joker really should be your MVP. Now, we're going to talk about the individual top shelf, top end players, the MVP candidates in just a second. And so I'm not going to give Shea short shrift. We're going to talk about him as well. But the Joker is remarkable to me. And you see, were it not for running into him, hey, maybe the Lakers go a lot further each of these last couple years. Anyway, at number 4, here's another surprise in the Western Conference. It's the Houston Rockets. Well, look at that. Udoka, the stroker. Udoka, he's one of those guys like J.J. Redick that just seems perennially mad. Like Thibodeau, mad, just surly, just grumpy, just unhappy with things. But look at what he's done with that team. And, you know, Jalen Green is a baller. And, I mean, Dylan the villain is down there chipping in. And they've got a good mix. But you got to give them credit. The Rockets sitting in the 4 seed. And then who is at number 5 at 32-20? Well, it is the LA Lakers. 32-20, 12 games over 500. They are 11 games behind the Thunder. They're way out in front. But the Lakers also, in their last 10 games, have won 8 of them. So they're playing really good basketball. And, well, at number 6, well, it's the crosstown rival. Now, actually, crosstown, since we got them out of the building. They got their own little building. You know how it is when you get your own place. You make your own rules. The Clippers, the Clips. And they are surprising to me, but I tell you what, Ty Lue is a hell of a coach. The Lakers should rue the day they didn't make the proper offer to lock Ty Lue down. But, we'll talk a little bit about Lakers coaching and JJ. And so, at this point, I'll just say this. I'm impressed at what the Clippers are doing. Norman Powell has been a revelation. Look at James Harden fitting into a role, doing his thing. And then you got the clown, Kawhi, coming back, and he, when he plays as though he hasn't missed any time. You got Big Zubats. I like the Lakers gave Zubats away. Gave him away for a ham Sammy to the Clips. And now look at Zoo just wreaking havoc down in the paint. And so that is your top 6 teams in the Western Conference. Now, there are 4 more teams, though, that will be in the play-in, and each of these 4 teams in the West are actually above 500. So let's give them a little bit of shine. Minnesota, the Timberwolves, they're 31-25. Ant-Man's been picking it up. They are in the 7th seed, 6-4 in their last 10. Then the Mavericks, Dallas, they're at 30-26. They are 6-4 in their last 10. They've been through a lot. Kyrie down there and all their big men are out, and it's been a lot. Sacramento, the Kings, they are in the 9 slot. And they've been through quite a bit as well with they fired their coach and Fox they were clashing, and they fired the coach, and then they sent both parties. They were like, both of you get out of here. So Fox is gone now. Fox is over there in San Antonio with Wemby, and I like Castle down in San Antonio. Oh, Castle's a baller. And so San Antonio, look out for them. They're coming. And, Chris Paul is still cantankerous down there. But the Kings are at number 9 with Sabonis, leading the league in rebounding. And then number 10, the play-in, 6 through 10, the 10th spot as it stands right now. Golden State, Draymond blurting out some old craziness. You heard him saying the Warriors were going to win the championship. Well, they are sitting in the 10th seed, but now they got Jimmy Buckets. Buckets. They got buckets. Draymond's crazy. And so that is your Western Conference. And so, it's gonna be a great race to the finish line. I'm super looking forward to seeing it. And I will agree with the Lemmings on one note. Matchups will determine who goes where. Who do you play? Who advances against who? But the deck has totally been shifted now with the Luka trade. And that trade then led to a need for defense, because as we've already discussed now, Luka is not a defensive stalwart, to put it mildly. And so And so the Lakers made another bold move. And they went out and got Mark Williams from Charlotte, a big man, and he was, he looked to be athletic. He's young, and you pair him up with Luka, they're both 25 or 26, and they had to give up. They packaged Dalton Connect, Connect 4. Everybody liked Dalton Connect. I told you, the guy, the Meerkat, he was gushing about Connect and Reeves and Luka. Well, they had to get rid of Connect to get Mark Williams. But man, then it really looked like the Lakers. Pelinka was just wheeling and dealing. But as you know, that Mark Williams trade gets rescinded. The Lakers vetoed it, backed out. Bad bill of goods. No, thank you. We found something that's not working. And so that put Dalton Connect in the completely odd and awkward position of having to come to grips with being traded from the team that drafted you midway through your rookie season and trying to get your mind around that, and you're going to Charlotte, and then in the matter of a few days, come to find out, never mind. Come on back. You good. We're not doing that. Come on back. And so I'm sure Connect will probably never really love the Lakers the same way ever again. He probably will sleep with the Lakers, but with one eye open. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And, well, the Meerkat was delighted that Connect was back, so he didn't mind it at all. Oh, look, he's back. Oh, happy day. I love Austin Reeves. He gushed. And I want to say this. My last Lakers episode was after the Lakers had been eliminated at the hands of the Nuggets. And I told you then that I did not believe a lineup constructed with D'Lo and Austin Reeves, and Rui was going to get you past Denver. We saw it 2 years in a row to confirm that. And we go into this season, and there they are still. Austin Reeves and D'Lo still there. And I was going to bring you a mid-season Lakers report at the actual 41-game mark, halfway. But I said, no. I want to wait until the trade deadline. I want to wait till the All-Star break. I want to see if there's any renovations. And as I'm forming this thought, then Pelinka starts wheeling and dealing, and D'Lo is gone, and in comes Finney Smith, and I like that. And he keeps wheeling and dealing, and then the big one. He lands the big fish, the orca whale. He pulls on the boat. We're going to need a bigger boat. And so I'm glad I waited to this point. But this is going to, as you see, be an epic episode. Well, what do you want me to do? And so if the playoffs were to start today, as they say, well, you'd have, if we just leave the existing top 8 in place as they sit currently, you'd have the Hawks at the Cavs. I think the Cavs would quickly dispatch of them. You'd have the Celtics at the Magic. I don't think the Magic would be able to deal with them in the end. You'd have the Tricks at the Pistons. Ooh, that would be a good one. I imagine the Tricks would prevail, but that would be a good one. And then you'd have the Pacers and the Bucks, and I think Milwaukee would make quick work of Indy in that scenario, which then would leave the Cavs, the C's, the Bucks, and the Tricks. That would be your final 4 in the East. I'm saying preferences, not predictions. And I'd like to see out of that final 4, I'd like that configuration in the Eastern Conference Finals to probably be Bucks tricks. I think I'd like to see that. Bucks tricks. That should be good. In the West, let's look at the West. Well, let's just go with the top 8 teams as they currently sit now, which would mean Dallas would play the Thunder. I don't think Dallas would be able to take down OKC. So, Memphis would play Minnesota. That would be an interesting series. That would be a fascinating matchup. Memphis Grizzlies, Minnesota Timberwolves, Ant versus Ja. Huh? How about that? Wouldn't you love to see it? I would. Out of that matchup, who would prevail? I think Memphis has a better overall team. They would probably prevail in that matchup. And then you'd have Denver at the Clippers. Oh, Denver at the Clippers. I don't think the Clippers would be able to withstand the heat coming from the Joker. And then you have the 4-5 matchup, which would be Rockets, Lakers. Rockets, Lakers. And wouldn't that be something? Ime Udoka, the stroker, he would be, you remember, he called LeBron James soft-ass boy. Remember? Soft-ass boy. I'm like, how disrespectful, Udoka. And you know, all of that. You know, Dylan the villain loves to club LeBron in the nuts every chance he gets. You've seen it now several times, right? There's some bad blood between those two. That would be a brutal series. And the Rockets are a good team now. Ooh, intrigue. And if we were to get that, I would go with Thunder, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Lakers. Yes. And of those 4, the final 4 in the West, oh boy. Well, let's put it this way. I'd like the Western Conference Finals. I would like to see a Western Conference Finals with the Lakers and the Nuggets. I know, right? You're like, what? Are you crazy? Yes, because you've got to overcome your demons. You've got to go through it to get to it. And so, you remember Pastor Pockets last year, the old coach? We ain't ducking no fades. Pastor Pockets was a trip, wasn't he? Well, I'd like to see that matchup, and I'd like to see the Lakers and LeBron and Luka versus Jokic and the Nuggets. I'd like to see the Lakers put a stake in them and finish them off and get revenge once and for all. And so then, coming out of the West would be the Lakers facing, Milwaukee? I'd like to see Lakers, Milwaukee. Or the tricks, but that wouldn't even, the tricks would be anticlimactic because the Lakers would romp them. But the Lakers, Milwaukee in the finals, that'd be a good one. And so, I'm not calling it a prediction. I'm just saying that would be my preference. All right, my folks, it has been an epic episode. Let's quickly look at the Lakers roster construction as it currently stands. Luka the Don, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jordan Goodwin. Who is that masked man? He came up from the G League, I believe. He wears the mask because he had a fracture, a facial fracture. Say that 4 times, a facial fracture. I tell you what, I like Jordan Goodwin. He's got energy. He's got verve. He's not afraid. You could see he's got that pep. I like him. And then Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes. Now, they give Jackson Hayes a lot of grief, and he's a little light in the back pocket, true enough. But he's an athletic big for sure. I'd like to see him pull down more rebounds, though. You know, that's where you got to earn your bread. Mr. Hayes. And then, well, on the roster, Bronny James, we'll just keep right on going. LeBron the King, LeBron James the King. Trey Jemison III, he's a center. He's 25 years old, 6'10". We've seen little bits and pieces of him. Maxi Kleber came over in the Dallas trade. He was a throw-in. He's got a broken foot. They're going to reevaluate him after 6 more weeks or so. But he's got a career average of 6 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. But he is a big. He's Maxi Kleber, 6'10", 240 or so. He's listed. Dalton Connect 4 is back on the roster. And so his rookie season with the Lakers continues. Christian Coloco, I've seen him out there getting some run. He's a 7-foot center. Alex Len, the Lakers acquired him, as you know, after that Mark Williams deal fell through. And then Shake Milton on the squad. Markieff Morris was a throw-in in that massive blockbuster Luka trade. Austin Reeves, and let me say this about Austin Reeves. In my last episode, I said I didn't think the Lakers could win with D'Lo and Reeves as your starting guards. And I'm glad to see D'Lo is gone. Let me just say that right away. But I also want to say this. I see the value in Austin Reeves. I get it. I understand why you don't want to part with him. He provides value. He gives you different things, but he can score. He is smart, clever around the basket. He can get you some dimes. He can pull down some boards. Now, he's not going to give it all to you every game. It might be points here or assists this game, or he might get several boards, 7, 8 boards one game. Point being, though, he's sort of a Swiss Army knife, and he's a winning player, and I like him. And so I'm glad D'Lo is gone, and I'm glad Reeves is now starting with LeBron and Luka the Don. And then Jared Vanderbilt, Vando, I like him. He's a great defender. He brings a lot of energy, grit, hustle. He's just never on the court. Hopefully that'll change now. Hopefully he can stay on the court because he makes a difference. He's a plus-minus kingpin when he's on the floor. And Gabe Vincent. And finally, I'm glad to say Gabe Vincent is starting to look kind of like his old self. He struggled for a while there. And new team, and he had these injuries, but he looks like he's starting to feel comfortable in his role. And so that is your current Lakers roster. Now, true enough, they're a little light on the bigs. And true enough, if they were playing a team like, wouldn't that be something if they had to play Dallas and Anthony Davis was healthy and motivated to wreck the game against his old team? Wouldn't that be interesting drama? There's a few different scenarios that would be quite compelling. But as it stands, I think the Lakers can win with what they've got. Certainly, I see where there could be upgrades and improvements, and maybe, I know there's a buyout market, and so I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but at this point in time, I fully expect the Lakers will hold their position, if not improve it in the standings. And so now, let's wrap it up by taking a look at the standout ballers in the NBA this season. And, you know, when you look at the stats at the All-Star break, there are certain things that leap out. For one, SGA, Gilgeous-Alexander, is your odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Well, their team has the best record, tied with Cleveland, best record in the NBA. And he is the leading scorer in the league. SGA averages 32.5 points a game, and that leads the league. And so He's shooting 52% from the field. He averages about 5 rebounds, 6 assists. SGA and the Thunder. But here's the thing. I think you could make an extremely strong and compelling case, as I mentioned, for the Joker. We'll get to it. In the scoring department, though, let's stay there. Second in the league is Giannis. He's at about 32 points a game. The Joker is third at about 30. The fourth leading scorer in the NBA this year, Tyrese Maxey. Yeah, 27.8 points a game. Tyrese Maxey, the young blood out there cooking them up in Philly. They got to get him either a better cast or get him out of there. And then number 5 in the league, Ant-Man. Ant-Man, he started off slow, it felt like to me, from afar, but he's picked up the scoring of late. He's averaging 27.5 a game, shooting 44% from the field with 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And then that's number 5. At number 6 scorer in the league is Kevin Durant, the old dude, still doing it. 27.3 points a game on 53% shooting, and he'll get you 6 boards and 4 dimes as well. KD, the old guard, still hooping. All right, that's your scoring leaders. What about boards, rebounds? Well, leading the league in rebounds is Domantas Sabonis, the son of a legend. Sabonis, 14.6 rebounds per game with Sacramento to lead the league. Second in the league in boards, Big Cat. They call him the Big Bodega out there in New York. Big Cat, 13.4 rebounds a game. And Cat also adds 24 points a game, and he gives you 3 assists a game. And so, really, I think you could make a case he's having a better season than Sabonis. But Sabonis was an all-star snub for sure. Third in the league in rebounds, Zubac, the Lakers' gift to the Clips. Zubac is averaging 12.6 boards per game. And then at number 4, well, actually 3 and 4 are tied at 12.6 rebounds a game. Tied for number 3 in the league, the Joker. You see? And so now here you have it. The Joker, number 3 in scoring at 30 a game. Number 3 in rebounds at 12.6. Averaging a double-double, but wait, there's more. We'll get back to the Joker. At number 5, Giannis at 12.2, and then Anthony Davis, the rubber band man Robin, 12 rebounds per game. And let's look at assists. Trae Young leading the NBA, 11.5 assists per game. He also contributes 24 points a game and 3 rebounds. Trae Young having a solid season, a solid double-double average. And then number 2 in the NBA in assists, number 2 in all the league, the Joker. And you see, there it is. The Joker is the only player in the NBA to be in the top 3. In the top 3 in each of the big 3 categories. He's number 3 in scoring at 30. He's number 3 in rebounds at 12.6. He's number 2 in assists. 10.2 assists per game. So, in fact, the Joker averages a triple-double. He averages a 30-point triple-double. 30, 12, and 10. That's the man's average. Night in, night out. It's extraordinary. And the way he does it, the ease, it looks so effortless. He'll throw one up at the buzzer from 3/4 court away, and it'll just swish right in. He just throws it up and then he walks off, shrug. The passes, as though he had eyes in the back of his head. The ease with which he pulls down the boards. He can shoot the three. He's a remarkable player. I give the Joker all the credit in the world. And so, personally, I know there's a fatigue when you're giving the same guy the MVP year in, year out, but this might be his best year ever. And when you look at it all across the board, I think he's having a better year than SGA, but the team is not a number one seed, and that is a big weighing factor in it all. At number 3 in assists in the NBA, why, it's Cade Cunningham. What? Cade Cunningham, 9.4 assists per game. Very impressive for the young Piston. Do your thing, young man. At number 4 in the NBA in assists, it is the King, LeBron James. 9 assists per game in his 22nd season. Did I mention he's 40 years old? And on top of 9 assists per game, LeBron is giving you 24 points and 7 rebounds. Just an extraordinary season by any metric for anybody, let alone a 40-year-old in his 22nd season. At number 5, speaking of elder statesmen, number 5 in assists at the All-Star break, James Harden, the beard. He's got 8.6 assists per game for the Clippers. He also gives you 21 points and 6 rebounds. So Harden is fitting in and doing his thing for the Clips. And then at number 6, it is Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers, 8.5. And so, my friends, it has been yet another epic episode. Now, before we wrap this one up, I just want to address the coaching. Now, I was willing to wait to formulate any type of conclusion about the Lakers' rookie head coach, JJ Redick. And what I will say is that despite his seeming anger management issues, it has made a difference having someone who was really dialed in, sharp on the X's and O's. And apparently that's where Pastor Pockets, Darvin Ham, was a little light. Remember? And, that was another Anthony Davis situation where he called out Pastor Pockets after they got bounced at the hands of the Nuggets again. At their times, we don't know what we're doing on either end of the court, Rubber Band said. And that was a damning indictment, and you knew it wouldn't be long for Pastor Pockets with his hands buried deep into his pockets, hulking along the sideline. Yeah, he cut a peculiar-looking figure on the sideline. And so, I will say, having J.J. Redick, this guy is a basketball junkie. And you can see that, he eats and breathes and lives it. And it makes a difference. Coaching makes a difference. And I think the guys respect him. I think the guys respond to him. You can see how with essentially the same cast of characters, the record was better. And the numbers, the records speak for themselves. To go from 4 games over 500 at the All-Star break last year with Pockets to this year, the improvement this year, 12 games over 500 at the break, big difference. And so coaching matters. And so, hey, keep up the good work. That's what I say. And now you've got a legendary player to add to your mix. Yeah, I think the Lakers are going to be a formidable opponent to deal with. And so, my folks, at this point, I got to land the plane. Nose up. Let's bring it down. This point, what I am going to ask from you, what I need for you to do is throw me one of these. Please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And until the next one, which you know won't be too long from this one, we've only got 30 more games before the playoffs. And so until then, my friends, Scotti says, thanks for watching. One love.